Since finishing my PhD in 2012, the same professors are still around offering the same advice to their PhD students, but unfortunately so much has changed in the interim that some of the PhD advice that worked well in the past no longer works. And the first thing I want to say is that we are in an interesting transition period in academia where being an expert is not good enough. Like in the past, if you got well known for doing this one thing really, really well, a university would mop you up and you'd be in a job forever doing that one thing. Now, the problem is that in today's academic world, we have to think about ease of moving between different institutions and even outside of academia sometimes. So being a jack of all trades and managing some of those skills so that you're not just completely focused on one thing is so important. One of the worst sort of like examples of this I've seen is that someone creates a very bespoke bit of equipment, this one bit of thing that does one measurement really, really well, whether or not it's like physical measurements, whether or not it's chemical analytical stuff, no matter what it is, those people have absolutely pigeonholed themselves into working on this one machine. The thing is there's only one machine in the world probably, and that is the one machine, and you cannot sort of like go outside of that machine's world because you just don't have the skills for it. So that is an extreme example of where a PhD really, you can become an expert in a thing, but it doesn't translate to you moving outside of academia or moving to another institution at all. Now the game is publishing papers, bringing in grant money. That is the game you need to sort of play while doing your PhD. Make sure that you're building skills alongside your PhD so that you can say to other institutions, other jobs, these are also the skills that I bring to this new job role or to your university or institution, because only then are you truly valuable to a university. And that's really what it's all about, making sure that you are not only valuable to your current supervisor, but also you are valuable to any institution, university, research group that you want to go into in the future. So do not pigeonhole yourself too much. Don't focus on becoming the expert. Remember to branch out in skills, and I think you'll be in a much better position. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. The link is in the description. When you sign up, you'll get 5 emails over about 2 weeks. Everything from the tools I use, the podcasts I've been on, my TEDx talk, and much more. Go sign up for that exclusive content for free. I'll see you in your inbox. Now, I heard this little bit of advice time and time again. That is, go abroad. Get your PhD, and the first thing you should do after you get your PhD is look for a position in another country. Now, if that other country is exciting to you, if you feel like you want to use the academic career path to travel, it's fantastic. Yes, go do it. But in the past, long ago, there used to be a mystique, like a certain prestige put on people who had done a postdoc or research in another country, in another department. Now, if that department or that country is like elite, if you're in an Ivy League school, yes, that brings in a lot of kudos in the academic world. But just going abroad now is no longer good enough. If you do want to travel, fantastic, but doing a PhD in another institution, in another country from your home university or your institution no longer holds the weight that it did in the past. I know people that have spent their entire careers pretty much at 1 or 2 universities in Adelaide, and they seem to be doing perfectly well. So I feel like there is a great reason to travel, but the reason no longer is that it guarantees you any sort of kudos or leg up in the academic world. Now, this is one of my favorite things to hear when I was in academia. It'll be good for your CV. It is used by supervisors and academics who want you to do something that they don't want to do, and they pretend that it will be good for your CV. Now, remember what you're giving up when you do these extra tasks. Yes, maybe it will look good on a CV, but maybe it's not your CV. Maybe it will look good on their CV if they are part of this organizing committee that you really sort of control. Now, the thing is, they do this when they say about writing book chapters, when they say this about writing conference presentations, they say this about running conferences and symposia. Like, all of these are very time-intensive activities, and anything that distracts you from your PhD should be critiqued highly before you even consider doing it. And unfortunately, it'll look good on your CV is a standard trope that academics will tell you because they want you to do something that they don't want to do. I had it so many times. So just as soon as you hear it'll look good on your CV, just take a moment and say, okay, will it look good on my CV? Is it actually a skill that I do want to build alongside my PhD? If not, no thank you, in a polite, professional manner. But it'll look good on your CV? Not necessarily. And stop trying to manipulate me, you. When I first started doing my PhD, I didn't think about writing papers, about getting money, about anything really other than doing my PhD. Now, the thing is that it's changed a lot. During your PhD now, you should be thinking about the next step from day one. Now, if you want to leave academia, brilliant, start building those skills. But if you do want to try to get your foot in the door in the ivory towers, into academia, turn into a professor, whatever it is, you do have to start thinking about, well, what do I need to do to get there? And unfortunately, money talks. Money talks in the academic world far more than it ever did in the past. If you can apply to a postdoc and say, well, actually, I've got some funding success, or, I've started to build up a bit of a profile online about this sort of stuff. If you can bring credibility, if you can bring money, if you can bring papers to an institution for your postdocs, they will absolutely lap you up. They will love you. So do not wait anymore for thinking about those last steps. As soon as you start a PhD, think about the end. What do you want to do? And look, it's really tough. A lot of things can change between the beginning of your PhD and when you finish. But here's the thing. When you get out the PhD on the other end, you're going to have to make a choice. You might as well know what that choice is, or have some idea about what you really want to do early on, because otherwise you'll get to the end and you'll get trapped. You'll feel lonely. You'll feel like it was a waste of time. You'll feel like, well, what was all this about if I've got no next step? And unfortunately, the university systems absorb those people and keep them on the postdoc treadmill forever. So take control from day one, and I think that is the most important part. Whether or not it's from day one you start looking for funding for your own projects, you start looking at presenting in conferences, all of this stuff is so important. If from day one you want to leave academia and go into industry, start building those networks early on. So when you get 3, 4, 5, even 7 years later at the end of a PhD, you are ready for the next step. Now, when I first started my PhD, there was no real thing as thesis by publication. What was that? Why, I remember being like, there were murmurs in the distance about this magical thesis by publication. But everyone I know did a hardcore thesis. Super thick. There it is in the corner. Super thick, 200 and something odd words. Brilliant. Okay, that was what I was aiming for. Now, the thing is, the great thing about doing a thesis is that even the early stage preliminary investigations that you do can end up in a thesis. Mine did the first year. I just did these little experiments that didn't really show anything. They weren't groundbreaking, but they were preparing me for the groundbreaking stuff later on. Now, the thing is about in the old days, you would say, oh, that's just thesis fodder. That will just go in your thesis. Great for the thesis. But now, unfortunately, you can spend a lot of time early on in stuff that used to be good for the thesis, but now will never make it into publication. So if you're planning on doing a PhD by publication, which is you produce 3 to 5 peer-reviewed papers throughout the course of your PhD, and then you put them together with some like adjoining chapters and an instrumental methods kind of area, and then an introduction, like a literature review, like that is what PhD by publication really means. And it can take a very long time for a publication to go from submitted to accepted. It can be a year, a couple of years, absolutely. So if you're planning to do your PhD by publication and you hear someone say, well, it's just good thesis fodder. No, focus on the stuff you can publish and get into papers first of all. Play that academic game, because otherwise you're going to end up pushing out the candidature time, because publication takes a very long time. And I'm so pleased I did thesis as part of my PhD, because I don't think I would have been able to do a publication, a year throughout my PhD. Anyway, there we are. PhD by publication. Just be careful. So there we have it. There's everything you need to know about some of the old advice, the outdated advice that the crusty old professors are still telling to their PhD students. Let me know in the comments what you would add to that. And also go check out academiainsider.com. That's my project where I've got my ebook, The Ultimate Academic Writing Toolkit, to help you boost your academic career from the very early stages, and also my insider forum. All right, I'll see you in the next video.